Welcome to the 5am podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with thought leaders and influencers who are making headway and some waves in their callings. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Kim Sorrelle, a remarkable individual whose life's journey embodies resilience, compassion, and the transformative power of love. Kim is a prominent figure in humanitarian work, serving as the director of Rays of Hope International. She's a popular speaker and the author of two impactful books, Cry Until You Laugh and Love Is. Kim's story is one of profound personal growth and discovery, born from both tragedy and purpose. After losing her husband to pancreatic cancer after just 6 weeks from his date of diagnosis, Kim has channeled her grief into a mission to understand and embody the true meaning of love. Her year-long experiment, inspired by the famous biblical verses from 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, took her from the streets of Haiti to the depths of her own heart, resulting in life-changing discoveries that she now shares with the world. Today, we'll explore Kim's insights on love, resilience, and the power of service, delving into the experiences that have shaped her unique perspective on life and relationships. Now, before we roll that intro, please share this with your friends in your network. I know there's someone in your mind that is going to enjoy this conversation, so please share this with them as we get going. There's two other things that you can do to help support 5am podcast, and that is to give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast player. And if you really, really want to support the show and show us some love, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/5am podcast and drop a few virtual bills into the barrel. Now, let's roll that intro. Kim Sorrelle, welcome to the 5am podcast.
Michael, I am thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is a delight to have these conversations and share what is going on in other people's parts of the world and realms. And we started in our chat before I hit the record button about this Chinese proverb that says men are like teacups. When they're bumped, what's inside comes out. And I think we could relate that possibly to your book, Love Is, and how that chronicles year-long quest for understanding the true meaning of love. Can you talk to us about this journey and how it evolved over the course of those 365 days?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was more than 365 days.
Gotcha.
Because I used 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind.
Yeah.
And the first thing I figured out is there's 14 is's and isn't of love.
Yeah.
And I was taking one a month. So
Wow.
It took me a little bit longer, or maybe I'm a slow study. I don't know, however it worked. But it was absolutely incredible. After my husband died, I wanted to honor him. My husband was the guy who got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and was on his face before God, praying, reading the Bible, reading a devotional. And he chased God from my whole life that I knew him. We were married for 29 years. He chased God. And so I wanted to know that I was living a life that was honoring to him. And I thought, well, John says God is love. So not that God loves, but God is love. So that means we're love. We're created in his image. So if I could live love, then I would be living that life.
Yeah. So what were some of those challenging experiences as you worked through all the love is listed in 1 Corinthians? Was there a couple of really hard ones to assimilate into your life?
Well, I would say they were hard to discover more than anything. Love is patient. Very first one, right? I thought, oh gosh, I know what patience is. You know what patience is. You're not honking your horn if you're stuck in traffic, sure. Right? You're not mad because your 5-year-old can't find his shoes and it's time to leave for church. But what I discovered about it took me the entire month. Every single month, God would hit me over the head with something. And finally I'd go, oh, that's love that is patient. And so if I only would have done that month, Michael, it was life-changing. Because what I discovered about love that is patient is you put love is or love is not in front of something, it changes the meaning. And love that is patient is loving the person you're with, whoever they are, person at the grocery store, your best friend, your spouse, coworker, whoever they are, because we're to love everybody, right?
Yeah.
So you love them enough with love that is patient to know that this moment right here, right now is the most important moment of your life. What's in the past is in the past, and what's in the future is yet to come. This is the moment. So you want to be fully present and really listen to the person that you're with. That is showing love that is patient. And I'll admit, I stunk at this. I was horrible. I thought I could be in conversation and think about a soccer game I had later, a meeting later on, or whatever, and quickly realized I am not that super mom, multitasker, grandma, whatever, and that I had to learn how to focus. I had to learn how to be present. But when I did, it changed everything. I hear things that I would never have heard. You know, I think it's easy to make assumptions about people that they're going to say a certain thing, right?
Yes.
Instead of actually listening to their words. And so much is body language too. That gets ignored if your mind isn't there. And so love that is patient, be in the moment. It'll change your life.
Yes, that slowing down and ignoring the distractions. Was there some distractions that you really had to put on, not even on the back burner, but cut out of your life as you were going through this?
Interesting question. I'll tell you, it was a very much a eat, pray, love kind of journey, because I was in Haiti. It was after the earthquake and things were really tough down there. And the majority of the time, that's where it was. And so there were things that I put on the back burner because of that already, right? Like in order to have my time there, I had to kind of sacrifice some other things that were at home. And so it's, yes, but then in learning about love, definitely things to put on the back burner. Like one of the things that I learned too is that you can love and not like.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
there might be people you don't like, right? Not everyone's going to be your best friend. You're not going to want to hang out with everybody, but you can still love them. You can still love them. You can love people from a distance. So, you know, if Thanksgiving means that you got to be with that brother-in-law that drives you crazy and he's going to bring up whatever he's going to bring up and the whole table's going to turn over or whatever it's going to do, you know, you learn how to either deal with that situation or not go. You know, like I always think about, like, if a woman is being abused in a relationship, the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Because if you stay, you're allowing that man to continue that life and not change. You walk away, you're walking away in love. And so there are times, absolutely, that you put things aside.
Wow. Yeah. And that whole idea of I have to do something to you that you're really going to hate and dislike, but I am doing it because I actually love you. And even being able to say that in truth is hard. What was there some word and mind battles that you had to deal with that you can share with us just about understanding how I express love to another individual?
Absolutely. You know, every month I would just have it on the forefront of my mind, right? Love is kind, love is kind, love is kind. And the month that I was kind of dreading is love keeps no record of wrongs.
Well, that's a tough one.
I thought, right? Because I thought you might forgive people, but you don't forget the things that happen to you.
Yes.
And that month, I got a phone call from a pastor in the U.S. and asked me to show him a water project I was working on. You might want to get involved in Haiti. So he brought 7 other guys with him. So there were 8 American men. I brought 2 Haitian friends who both happen to be men who had been working on the water project with me. And they know language, of course, so they can translate and all of that. And so we got out to where we were staying, and it was just this little building with 2 rooms. And there were 4 twin-sized beds in each room. So 8 American men, 2 Haitian men, and me. And so we get there, and the head guy pulls me over. Kim, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. And he said, did you see the rooms? And I'm thinking, buddy, there's nothing else to see. And then I thought, oh, he's going to think I want my own room. So I'll say, well, it's okay. I'll sleep outside. And he'll say, well, no, if anyone should sleep inside, it should be you. And then I'll say, well, I don't care if there's other people in my room. And he'll say, good, because we only have so much space. So I said, well, it's okay. I'll sleep outside. And he said, good, because we've got men on this trip that would not be comfortable with a woman in their room. I was floored. I thought, where am I going to sleep? But here I'm the one that volunteered to sleep outside with tarantulas and snakes. And chupacabras or whatever is lurking in the bushes of Haiti. I was scared to death. But I found this like a piece of plywood that could be hauled up by something, put my air mattress underneath it, and at least if it rained, I'd be okay, right? But I was so afraid. So the first night I went to bed and the air mattress held air for about an hour. And then I'm sleeping on gravel. And it was so loud because horns were honking and dogs were barking. And then finally that died down, midnight 1, something, whatever. And then like 2 a.m., voodoo drums started in the distance. And then that kept me awake until probably 5 a.m. And then finally I was able to go to sleep. Well, the first night came and went, no problem. Everything was fine. I was so relieved. Second night, same thing. The dogs, the horns, I'm on gravel, the voodoo drums. Finally, I'm asleep. But I woke up because there was something on my leg. And I thought, oh my word, does Haiti even have the anti-venom to whatever it is that is going to bite me? Or are they going to be able to airlift me to Miami in time to save a limb? Or, what is going to happen? I was so afraid. So I slowly lifted my head and I slowly opened my eyes. And it was a chicken. There was a dang chicken on my leg. And I didn't know whether to be happy because it was only a chicken or mad because it woke me up from the little bit of sleep I got, right? Third night came and went, everything fine. Fourth night, same thing, dogs, horns, gravel, voodoo drums, finally asleep. But again, I woke up because again, there was something on my leg. And again, I was scared to death. And I slowly lifted my head and I slowly opened my eyes. And it was the darn chicken. And again, I didn't know whether to be happy or mad. I shooed it away. But Michael, that night we had chicken for dinner. So the fifth night came and went with no problem whatsoever.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, at first I was bitter. I thought, man, I hope my sons wouldn't treat a woman like this. Like I felt like I was being treated subhuman, right? Like not even because of my gender, but you're a woman, you can sleep outside. It hit me wrong. So first I was like angry. Who do these guys think they are?
Yeah.
And then it struck me what love keeps no record of wrongs means. And what it means is, yes, things happen to us, but we're in charge of the narrative. We're in charge of how we take things, right? We're in charge of that. And we can switch the narrative. So for me, instead of these rotten guys that did this rotten thing to me, it's, man, I could literally sleep anywhere in the world and be perfectly fine. And so we get to switch the narrative, and that's how you don't keep a record of wrongs. And you can even switch it from years ago because you're the one that creates the narrative, right?
Yes, that's right. And we could all have notebooks of, here, God, this is solid gold. When you read this, you'll understand that person over there. Now, you've said you have permission to live a great life. So thinking of sleeping with the threat of tarantulas and snakes and chickens and gravel, how do you reconcile that statement with experiencing grief and loss in your life?
It's interesting because somebody wrote a book a few years ago and said, these are the 5 stages of grief. And if you don't go through them, something's wrong, right? Like this is what you have to go through. But I've never read that in the Bible. It's something that somebody wrote. And so I think grief is different for everyone, and how you handle grief is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And people should be allowed to just grieve how you grieve, without judgment. Just grieve how you grieve. And I've, over the years, have seen people grieve and they've never really come out of it, right? Like, I don't think about getting over it. I think about getting on top of it, but they just can't kind of seem to get on top of it. I don't know if you know anybody like that or whatever, but they exist, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to not be that. I wanted to get on top of my grief and deal with it the way I needed to deal with it. My husband, we had a great marriage. We were going to be those people in our 90s sitting on the front porch sipping lemonade or whatever people do on the front porch in their 90s, right? And that dream was gone. I was 47 years old. And there we go. It's over. And so I had to figure out, who is single Kim? Like, what does this even mean? While I was dealing with missing my husband. And so it's, I really believe I do live a fantastic life. I love my life, even sleeping outside with
Yes.
snakes and tarantulas. Like, who gets to who gets to help in Haiti like I
Yes.
did? Who gets to help with clean water? I feel very privileged and honored, to be able to do those things. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your question, kind of.
That's good. It's good because it gives us that perspective that our emotions, we choose not to tie them to experiences. I think that's a good way to look at it. And so then when we think of love and we think of the 14 that we started talking about, we understand that this has to be our guiding North Star, so to speak, not the things that come into our path. So how has your definition of love changed from before you started your experiment to now?
Man, it's changed dramatically. I think there's things that a lot of us are taught. Michael, tell me if you were taught this, but that a lot of us are taught that we think are true that really are not true about love. Like that love is a two-way street.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
taught that, right? You
Yeah.
give love to get love. But love isn't a transaction. If I give you money, you give me a pair of jeans, that's a transaction. If I give you love, expecting love in return, that's a transaction, and that's no longer love. And so many things that I thought were love aren't. Like even that love is a feeling or something you can fall in and out of. You don't fall in and out of it. It doesn't leave you. Like love isn't something you hang up in the coat closet when you get home or at work, right? Love is who you are. God is love and you are love. Love is who you are. And so it's so much more than a feeling, than
Yeah.
falling in and out of, whatever. Like I think about, like, I remember that the day I got married, I could not wait to spend the rest of my life with that man. I was so excited to be with my husband. And then, after the honeymoon, he's leaving his dirty underwear on the bedroom floor. And I'm thinking, who is this Neanderthal that I married,
Yes.
But the reality is he wasn't a Neanderthal. But the reality is that is something that he did. That's not who he is. And what we love about people is who they are, not the things that they do that annoy us or make us happy. Those are actions. Those are things they do.
Yeah.
But the love should never leave for the person.
That's right. Now, music's always been a big thing in our home, and especially growing up, and there's a lot of songs about love. So in this experiment, did you have some songs that you really liked before this all started, and then you thought, wow, I can't listen to that one?
Well, I think kind of the opposite, maybe.
Okay.
Like I heard songs differently after
Gotcha.
this experiment, like
Okay,
how
that's a
they talk
good
about
perspective.
love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like I love the Beatles, All You Need Is Love, because
Yeah.
I believe that to be true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I was just thinking of Boston when you were saying more than a feeling. But there's there's just so much. Love is just so motivating. And how, through this experience, have you been motivated with love?
I'm so motivated. Like I'm starting a movement because I know that if people really understood the truth about love and then lived it, the world would change. It changes your life. It changes the lives around you. It changes everything when you really understand love and then live love the way that God created love. And so I'm very passionate about telling people, kind of getting the word out. I feel like I kind of did everybody's homework for them, right? Like, you don't have to go to Haiti and live for 14 months and sleep on the ground and get chased by a motorcycle gang and the things that happened. You can learn from what I learned. Uh, yeah, let's
What
start a
can
movement.
Let's talk about your two books then. Is it Laugh Until You Cry? No, it's Cry Until You Laugh, correct?
Right. Cry until you laugh.
Can you give us the kind of the origin story of how that book came to be and maybe some of the feedback from readers that you've received on that?
Yeah, sure. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And after crying a lot, and my husband holding me for a long time, which is the exact right thing to do, by the way,
Yes.
it's just hold on to each other. I went to the bookstore and everything was either depressing or real medical. And I thought, hey, I want to know what I'm going to go through. What does it feel like? What are my choices? Are there choices? Right. And so I started writing. And first, as a way to keep family and friends up to date, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. My surgery is scheduled for, that kind of a thing. But it was much more, it turned into much more than that. And so I wrote when I felt like I should write. And so I didn't write every day, but I wrote, well, however many days, whatever. But so then I was still writing when 4 months later, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And then writing through that whole experience and the experience afterward. And so that's what the book is it's all about, it's just all of those put together. The reaction that people, so I called it Cry Until You Laugh because I think you need to do that. Like it's like cry, absolutely cry. Oh my gosh, I still cry. But it's okay to laugh again at the same time. Like give yourself permission to laugh because that can feel funny. Like, am I allowed to have fun? Am I allowed to feel good about life again? Right? It can feel strange, but yes, laugh. Yes, laugh. And so the reaction that I've gotten from people has been just mostly a spiritual journey for people and that they've enjoyed and learned a lot and cried a lot and laughed a lot.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sure it's helped a lot of people to change their perspective on things. Now, I want to we'll quickly touch on love is, because I know that's divided into the chapters based on 1 Corinthians 13. And maybe you've answered this already, but what chapter maybe was the most surprising for you to write?
Kind was surprising. Actually, a lot of them were surprising.
Yeah.
Kind is a big one. It's a whole long story that I
Yes.
won't get into, but what I found out about love that is kind is I thought, I know kind, like I know patience, right? Like
Yes.
that should just be so easy. And you're kind, Michael. You're kind enough to have me in your show.
Yes, thank you.
Whatever. You're kind enough to have a show. So you do kind things, say kind things, right? But love that is kind is separate from that. Love that is kind because that's what love is, with zero expectation of getting anything in return. Zero expectation. So I don't know if you've ever heard anybody say, oh my gosh, they didn't even say thank you. Or I went to their daughter's wedding. Why aren't they at mine? Right? Well, again, it goes back to that transactional thing. If you're being kind, to have someone be kind back, because you don't control anybody. You don't control if they're going to be kind back or not. And then get angry because they didn't reciprocate, right?
Yes.
Well, love that is kind because that's what love is, with zero expectation of getting anything in return.
That's really good. I wanted to ask you, what did not necessarily your time in Haiti, but the individuals that you touched and connected with, what did they teach you about?
Oh my gosh, so much, so much. Every culture is different, right? Every country is different. And like when I was working on Love is Patient, the very first month, Patrick is a guy that I work with a lot down there. He's Asian. And he would stop in the middle of the road and talk to somebody. Like there could be cars lining up behind us, cars lining up behind the other person, and just stop. And it happens all the time. They'll just stop and have a conversation. And it used to irritate me. Like, I'm like, well, geez, I wish we had time for this. But Patrick, we're working. We got stuff to do. But then I realized, how beautiful is that? Not to keep traffic blocked, but how beautiful that you would take a minute to say hello to a friend. And man, that was pretty eye-opening for me.
Yes. Yes, I can imagine. That would have been the mindset shift, to go from the North American mindset of get things done to that, what you're describing of let's focus on the individual we see around us. So we're kind of getting close to wrapping up. Before I forget, I want to ask, how can our viewers get in touch with you?
Well, my YouTube channel, Kim Sorrelle. I'm the only Kim Sorrelle spelled my way in the entire world because my last name has way too many letters, 2 R's, 2 E's, 2 L's. So it's Sorrelle. So I'm very easy to find, Kim Sorrelle. And I've got a lot on my YouTube channel and I love to connect with people. So reach out, do whatever you want. My book is being used a lot for book clubs and like Bible studies and that kind of a thing, but I've got content on there. So
Well, that's good.
come to my channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so after this year, at least 14 months longer, after this experience and experiment that you did, what do you now believe might be the most understood aspect of love in our society?
The most misunderstood
Yeah, I was
aspect.
thinking the transactional aspect of it, but maybe there's something else that
Yeah.
you've come across.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I hear people say, again, Michael, maybe you have heard this too, but I'll hear people say, well, I love everybody. I love everybody. But those darn Democrats or those silly Republicans, right? Well, then
Yes.
you don't love everybody. And so if you truly love everybody, you love the person. You don't love the club that they're in. You might not love their political affiliation. You might not love something that they do, but those are labels, and love has no labels. Love is
Yeah.
just Michael and Kim. It's that simple.
That's great. That's an excellent way to end off our conversation. I really appreciate you being here, Kim, and thank you sincerely for joining us for the 5 a.m. podcast.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a joy.
Yes, it's a great conversation. We're still in the month of February, the month of St. Valentine's Day. So love is still on the hearts and minds of people, and we all need it. And so I want to thank our viewers too for joining us. We do appreciate you listening in or watching in on this conversation, and do check out Kim's work at her YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to help us grow the channel with a like and a subscribe. We'd love that. And share this with some friends or maybe some frenemies, and their name is rolling around in your head. And send this their way because they may need to hear Kim's message and get her book, at least one of them. And then one more thing that you can do is, if you're listening and you think, yes, I would like to help further the work of 5 a.m. podcast, you could give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast player. Now, they do tell us in marketing that if it's not a 5, it's a 0. So if you're thinking of a number that's leaning close to 5, but not quite there, keep in mind they tell us it's a 0. So just hit the 5-star, leave us a nice comment. We would love that. Thank you very much. And then one other thing, I mentioned it before, we got the buymeacoffee.com/5am podcast. Anyway, we appreciate you regardless of what you feel compelled to do. Thanks again for all your support. And until next time, seize your day, and may God bless your going in and your going out. And don't forget to enjoy those sunrises.